Hi there, Ronnie here, coming at you with a video. I was rather pleased with the last one, where I was doing alternatives for chess drafts and Connect 4. So, sort of in the same vein, I have a lot of games that are primarily dice driven. And I don't just mean the roll and move games, although I do have some of those. Mostly smaller games, it has to be said. Not all of them appear in the video you're about to see. Mostly because I kind of have other videos in mind to put them in. So it's going to kick off with an overview of a venerable sort of dice game, which is Yahtzee. And I'm kind of putting that one in for two reasons. It's really the jumping off point for the rest of the video, which is games alternatives to Yahtzee. I'm not going to say better, worse, or anything else, because I'll leave that to others. They're alternative to Yahtzees, but more importantly, I have this lovely little, you'll see it in the video, lovely little wooden cup and dice set that my daughter Saffron got me, and it was an excuse to just put that on video. So the games that I have sort of reviews of are Yahtzee, Qwixx, Ganz Schon Clever, or That's Pretty Clever, which is the English translation, Roll For It, King of the Dice, Age of War, Dragonwood, and just for the sillies, I put Zombie Dice on it as well. As I say, I do have other dice games that could have made this list, but I kind of have other I have other plans for those. So I hope you like the video. Again, they're just my opinions. I'm sorry about some of the glare. I have a very polished table, and due to there being rain today, it got very dull in here, and I had to put my living room light on, which is right where the table is. So there's a bit of glare off the light bulb. So I apologise for that. I've tried to mitigate as much as possible with what I'm saying. Again, I have been filming this using my phone, so apologies if the picture is a little shaky at times, but I think the sound quality is good, and glare aside, I think the picture quality is not bad either. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoy my little sort of set of reviews. This is Yahtzee, very old, very venerable dice game. This particular cup, you can get any old dice cup really, and as long as you've got 5 6-sided dice your way. I wanted to show this particular cup with 5 dice because this was a present many years ago from my daughter Saffron, and I absolutely adore it. And when I'm playing Yahtzee, I still use it. So, what do? On your turn, you take the 5 die, you roll them, and what you're looking for are various combinations, which are shown on here. Ones, twos, threes, fours, fives, or sixes there. If you get a total of 63 or more, when you add all those up, you get a bonus of 35. Down here, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind. That's literally you. 3 of a kind is 3 ones, 3 twos, 3 threes, all the way up to 3 sixes. You will add the total of all 5 dice. Similarly, with 4 of a kind, it's 4 ones, 4 twos, 4 threes, whatever. But you'll add up the total of all 5 dice. A full house is 3 of one kind and 2 of another, like 3 sixes and 2 fives. That will get you 25 points. A small straight is 4 dice in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. A large straight is 5 in a row, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll get you 30 or 40 points. Yahtzee is 5 of a kind. 5 ones, 5 twos, therefore. And if you don't have anything else going for you, you can put it in the chance, which is just you total up the 5 die and you put it in a chance. If you get a Yahtzee and you've scored it off, and you get another Yahtzee, you tick off one of these boxes here, which is 100 points, and you get to tick off either one of the boxes from the lower section or the appropriate box in the upper section. What that means is if you get a second Yahtzee that's all 4s, you could put it in any, you can get the extra 100 bonus. You can put it in any of the boxes and in the lower section and score that amount. You could put it in as the full house and get 25, or get 20 points for a 4 of a kind if it's all 4s. Or you could put it in the add only 4s here on the top section. You couldn't put it in the 3s because you didn't roll 3s, you rolled 4s. So on your turn, as I say, you roll your 5 dice and you're looking to get a set. So I've got 2 twos there. You can roll up to 3 times and you can mix the dice up as you see fit. That really hasn't got me anything. So what I might do is take the 1, 2, and 3 and re-roll this for my final roll. Well, that hasn't got me anything much. So now I have to mark off something. So I could take 1 point in my ones. I could take 2 points for my 2s. 6 points for my 3s. I could take 6 points for my 6s. Or I could add them all together, which would be 15 in total, and put it in my chance. Now here's the rub with this game. If you, in later turns, when you've marked down things, you roll something and there is nothing to put it in, you must then zero one of these scores. So if that were later on and the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 6s and the chance were already gone, I would have to zero one of those scores. I'd have to lose one of them. I wouldn't be able to use it. After everyone has done rolling for every section, you take it in turns. You total up your points, and whoever has the highest points is the winner. Yahtzee has been around a long time. I don't actually know when it started, but I was aware of it as a game late 70s, early 80s. I knew of its existence. And a friend of mine, my friend Alan, actually had it, and there were times I would play it with him and his sisters and his mum. And I loved the game, and I still love the game today. I I have a soft spot for it. One, because I think it's a fun and simple dice game. Two, because it brings back memories of playing the game with my friend Alan and his family. And three, because of this particular dice set. I do have another dice set which is still in its box up there, which my ex-fiancée Fiona got me, and it's still very much cherished. And I've got it all. I've still got it in a little box because I haven't found. I need to get a different cup, something appropriate to use those dice with, because this cup I don't want to use with anything other than these dice. The game itself is actually fairly cheap. The rules are available online. It's very easy to find. So are the score pads. And if you happen to have 5 6-sided dice, they don't have to be the same colour or anything. And you're away. And as long as you've got enough score sheets for everyone, you can have a whale of a time. So that is Yahtzee. This is Qwixx, which I bought on a punt, as is the case with a couple of games on here. I bought on a punt, and I really think it is an underrated little gem. I'll show you how the game works. As you can see, this is the game board. It is, at its heart, it's a roll and write game, which is why I place it amongst the Yahtzee set. As you can see, there are 4 colours. The top 2 ascend from 2 up to 12, and the bottom 2 descend from 12 down to 2. And you can see a padlock at the end there. Points and penalty markers. We will deal with those. So on your turn, this is a game for 2 to 5 players. They say it takes about 15 minutes. Really depends how you're rolling. On your turn, the active player is the one who rolls the dice. On your turn, you are the active player. When you roll the dice, the first thing you do is you call out the total of the 2 white dice, in this case, an 8. Now, you or any other player can mark off an 8 on, in this case, on any of the 4 rows. There is a big caveat to that, but I'll get to that at the end. Then, as the active player, you can, as an alternate or an extra move, add one of the white dice to one of the colours and cross off that one. So, for example, I could have blue 8, red 7, yellow 9, and so on. Once I've marked that off, turn passes to the next person. If I decide I don't want to mark off any of those numbers, and there's a reason why you might not want to, or you're unable to, for the reason I'll explain in a second, then you have to mark off one of these penalty boxes. But you notice the padlock and the end number. In order to mark off that number, you have to roll it. You have to get A12 or A2 for the bottom 2. But not only that, you have to have at least 5 other numbers crossed off. And when I say 5 others, I don't mean 5 including the one at the end. I mean 5 already. If you're the first person who does that, you get to lock it off. And that number goes out of play. So as I'm using the red as an example there, if somebody locks off the red, then the red goes out of play and it's no longer rolled. No one can write any numbers to it. Game continues until one of two things happen. Either two of these two of these dice have been locked out, any two, or one person has scored off all 4 penalty boxes. You then total up the points. You count the number of boxes that you've crossed off, not the numbers in them. The numbers in them are irrelevant, other than you need to roll that number to cross them off. But you count up the number. If you have the padlock crossed off, you count that as if it's an extra box. And then you look down at the bottom here. So if I have 7 numbers crossed off and the padlock, it would be 8 boxes, and I would receive 36 points in that colour. I would add up the other ones. This box here, I get a -5 for every penalty box I have. Add up the points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. But there's a caveat. Once you've marked off a number on any line, everything to the left of that number is gone. What I mean by that is, to go back to my original example of the 8, yeah, I could cross off that red 8, but it means the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7 are no longer available to me. They're gone. So maybe I don't want to do that. 8's a terrible number this early in the game. So there's a bit of push your luck involved with the game. What do I think of it? I love it. I love this game. I think it's an understated gem. An underrated gem as well. It's a beautiful little game that I think is... I think more people should be playing. The reason you can see a glare is it's actually been raining here. So it's a little dark outside, so I actually have my living room light on, and it's bouncing off because these particular ones were laminated for me, and I just use felt tip pen. But you can buy extra score pads. So yes, that is Qwixx. This is Ganz Schon Clever, or That's Pretty Clever. This takes the sort of notion of the roll and write from Yahtzee and Qwixx and just ups the stakes a bit. It's played over either 4 to 6 rounds, depending on the number of players. It's a 1 to 4 player game. Yes, it does have a solo mode. If you're playing all 4 players, you get 4 rounds, 3 players get 5, and 1 or 2 players get 6 rounds. So what do you do? Again, it's a case of the active and inactive player, similarly to Qwixx. 1 round is all the players getting 1 turn to be the active player. You can see that under the rounds there is little symbols that come into it. Round 1 gives you a free reroll. Round 2 gives you an extra dice action. Round 3 gives you another reroll. And round 4, you can put an X in one of the boxes. We will explain that in a second. Or you can take a 6. So, how does the game work? Again, active and inactive players. So the active player rolls all the dice. Now, the active player can take any of those colours. The white is kind of special. The white can be used as a wild, but it also is added to whatever the blue is for use with the blue area, which I'll explain in a second. So you can pick any of the dice, but here's the rub. Once you've picked a die, any die that is lower value than the one you've picked goes here onto this dice tray. And these will be for the active players to take, the inactive players to take, should I say. So one of the areas, the yellow, you roll the yellow, you cross off. The yellow and blue can be done in any order. So in this case, if I wanted to, I could mark off that yellow 2 there, or here. The blue, again, you add up the blue and the white, and you cross off that area. The green is interesting. You can put any number, I guess, in the green. But yeah, you really want it to be, it has to be, the first one has to be equal to or greater than a 1, equal to or greater than a 2, equal to or greater than a 3. Yeah. Not impossible to get out of that if you roll a 6, but difficult. And you wouldn't write the number, you would just X that. The orange, you write down the number of the orange. The purple, the number to the left, the number to the right must be greater than the one to the left. So I have a 3 here for the purple. I could put the 3 in that first space, but the next one would have to be at least a 4. If, however, you roll a 6, you can make the next one a 1. If you want. Once you've got 6, you can get another low number. So how do they score? As you can see, the yellow scores by filling up those columns. The blue depends on the number of boxes that you've crossed off. The green, the more numbers you cross off, the higher your score. The orange, you add up all the numbers that you've rolled. Some of them, as you can see, have a ×2. One of them has a ×3. Whatever number you're about to put in that square, you would multiply by 2 or 3. And similarly with the purples, you add up the numbers. But you can see there's a lot of symbols hanging about. This game has combos. For example, if I fill up that 3, 6 and 5 at the top of the yellows there, it lets me cross off a blue, any blue. If I get the 3, 7 and 11 column there, I get to put a 6 in one of these 3 down here. If I get the oranges as far as here, I get another reroll marker. So sometimes you're looking to try and combo and get multiple bonuses running, bouncing back and forward. You get to roll your die up to 3 times. You're only ever going to pick 3. But if you have rerolls, then you can have a do-over of one of your rolls. If you have a +1 to score off, then you get to pick an extra die. Now, it can be the die you've just used. It can be another die. It can even be a die on here, because usually the active player can't use that. Once the active player has done all their rolls and whatever is sitting up there, let's say it's these three, don't know why those three would be sitting up there, but anyway, once they've finished, then the other players can take one die. Now, it can be the same die. They're not actually going to take it. They're just going to jot it down. They can mark off one of those dice onto their sheet as well. So every time you put a die up there, you're opening it up to the players. What do I think of this game? I love it. As I said, when I said Qwixx was a great find, this is even better. It took us a while. I actually had to watch a Let's Play just to get my head around it. But it's actually fairly simple once you get your head around it. It's a superb wee game, and I recommend it highly. If you're someone who likes Yahtzee, that sort of roll and write, but you're looking for something a bit more intense, this game works. It really does. And I think you'll enjoy it. This is Roll For It. Now, I have the deluxe edition, which will take up to 8 players. There are standard editions, which will take 2 to 4 players. You can get 2 of them. There's a red box and a purple box, and you could put them together, and you would have enough for a 2 to 8 player game. I bought the deluxe simply because I wanted something that would have more than 4 players on it as a quick game. As I say, this will play up to 8 players. The only difference in the setup is if you're playing with 5 to 8 players, you put 4 cards out rather than just the 3. You can see that the cards all have one thing. They have a combination of dice and they have a points value. And the objective of the game is the first to get to 40 points. So each of you get 6 dice. I've got 2 sets here. And on your turn, you will roll your available dice. There's a reason why I say available dice. Right, so what do I have? Not a lot. That's the dice I've rolled, and not a lot useful in them, actually. So what I can do, and this is where the strategy comes in, I can put dice onto the cards, or at the side of them. Oh, that was a 4. So I've put that there. So on a future turn, all I now have to roll is a 1 and a 2 to get it. But here's the rub. I haven't got the card. Card is not mine. So that's my turnover. Oh, slightly better. So they could do that. Now that means, I'm sure that was a 1. That's a 2 and a 3 there. Now, back to my turn. Now I have a choice. I can roll the rest of my dice, or I can take back my dice from the cards. But here's the gamble. You have to take them all back. And what I mean by that is, let us, for example, say that I had a 4 there. I can't just take the 4 back, or this 3 and 4 back. I have to take them all back and roll the 6 again. Once someone has gotten a card, they place it, they return any dice that are there, along with the rest, and a new card will come out. 2-point cards have 2 dice on them. 5-point cards have 3 dice on them. 10-point cards have 4 dice on them. And 15-point cards have 6 die on them. And that's basically the game. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What do I think of the game? It's stunningly fun. I call this a Yahtzee game in the sense that you are trying to roll certain combinations of dice to achieve points. So there's that. It's not the roll and write that others have. But I think this is a great wee game. It is very underrated in my opinion. It's a lovely wee family game and I would recommend it highly for anyone. This is King of the Dice, which takes the basic principles from the previous game Roll for it. Not directly, this isn't a sequel or anything, but it takes those mechanics and just ups things a little. You can see that the dice are your standard 6-sided dice, but they have both the numbers and colours on them. So, on your turn, like other games of this type, you can roll up to 3 times. And you're trying to get different combinations. Now, the cards have all kinds of sillies going on. This one is essentially get 6 in a row. So you're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that card. That one you're looking for all odd numbers. You can see the number at the top of the card there represents their score. If a card, you can see all the tops of the cards have colours. If the card, the top of the card, matches the colour of the settlement above it, then if you take that card, you also take the top card of the settlement. So right now, taking this card would give you 11 points. This card requires a 5 of a kind. This card wants you to get a 4 of a kind and then a different pair. This one, if you roll all your dice and you get 30 or more in total on the 6 die, you get to gift that dragon to someone else and that will give them -6 points at the end. So you get to roll, like all these games, up to 3 times. What have I got there? I've got 3 ones. Actually, I've got 4 ones, which is looking good. So I've got 4 ones. I did not succeed. If you don't succeed, you get to take a penalty card. Now, these are randomly shuffled. Now, the actual game rules say that you keep the penalty cards face up. And some people in reviews have objected to this. So my particular little house rule that I find works well is to keep them upside down. That way you don't know whether you're going to find yourself with a -1 or the maximum that's in there. There's a -4 card in there. If, however, I had succeeded, got my 5, and I took that card, the rest of the cards would move along to fill up the space, and a new card comes out. The game ends in one of 3 ways. Either the stick runs out, one of these settlements have all their cards taken from them. There are 3 cards. There's a 4, a 3, and a 2. Or all the penalty cards are gone. And at the end of all of it, whoever has the most points is the winner. Wonderfully simple game. Some of the iconography takes a little getting used to. A couple of the special abilities. For example, this special ability here means that on your next goal, you'll get to roll up to 4 times rather than the usual 3. And there's ones that let you take a shot. You get to take a shot immediately. You get to take. There's one that lets you take the card to the immediate right of the card you've just taken. And there's all kinds of fun little things. Is it a heavy, intense game? No, it's not, and it's not designed to be. It's a fun, silly, very enjoyable card game, and if you like that sort of Yahtzee style game, then I say, guys, give this a go. I think you'll like it. This is Age of War, which kind of follows on from having done Roll For It and King of the Dice. Again, this is a game of collecting cards for points by using different combinations. The only difference is this has a very much sort of feudal Japan aesthetic. As you can see, there are different combinations of dice. There's daimos, there's swords, samurai and horseback, archers. And you'll see that, with the exception of this one here, all of them have a daimyo here, which I will come to in a second. So what you do is, you're playing, you roll the dice, and you see if you have succeeded in getting any one line on this. This isn't a game where you can grab all of it in one roll. So what do I have here? I have a lot of swords. I have horse. I have cavalry. I've got an archer, and I've got a daimyo. So what am I going to go for, by way of an example? Let us go for this one. Now, the only one I can take at the moment for that one is this 3. I need at least 3 swords on that. So I have the 3 swords, so I have that one covered. Now the thing is, once I've started, I've got to keep going on that one card. So it's all or nothing for that card. So I re-roll. And very luckily for me, or unluckily for me, I have not rolled what I need. Now I can re-roll, but I lose a dice. So I can try again. Again, I have failed to get anything. I can try again. This is literally the last try I can really do for this one. And I have not succeeded. So I take the dice back. I do not get the card. If I get the card, let's say this one, that's mine, and I will get that many points at the end of the game. However, it can be stolen from me. To steal it from me, they have to get all these sections as usual, plus they have to roll this extra daimyo to steal it. Now, they can do that in any order, but they have to do a complete line. This is a separate line over here. So they would still have to roll an archer and a cavalry, then an archer and a cavalry, and 3 swords in any order they want to, but they have to do those lines first. And if they succeed in doing that, then they steal the card. If you get a complete set, and I will use these ones over here as an example, if you get a complete set, then you will turn them over onto their back, and you will see that there is a score. And this does 2 things. One, you will always get more points than the complete set, except for one, which I'll show you in a second. So the 2 of them individually give you 7 points, but together they give you 8. And also, by turning them upside down, now that you've got a complete set, they can't be stolen from you. So getting complete sets is very, very useful in this game. The only exception to that rule of getting more points is this little green one over here. Poor little green guy, all on his own. When the green one goes, you just turn it over straight away because he's a set all unto himself. Game continues until all these cards in the centre have been taken, which can happen very quickly if someone goes really guns for points, or it could take a while if people are more interested in stealing cards off each other than going for the ones in the middle. What do I think of this game? I love this game. As that sort of rolling combinations game, it's really, really fun. Plus, I like the fact that you can't just roll a whole bunch of dice and take a card right off. You've got to do it in lines, which I really like as well. So you're rolling and then you're putting one rolling. So you're gambling every time you're rolling. And you can re-roll, but you lose a dice. So eventually you're going to run out of dice to place onto a card and you're going to lose the card. It's a brilliant wee game. A lot of fun, and amazingly, it's an incredibly simple game, simple setup, easy to play, and it's from Fantasy Flight and comes with a rulebook that makes sense. There's a shocker. So yes, that is Age of War. This is Dragonwood. I almost didn't want to include this game. There is a dice rolling element to it, but it's also a set collection game with cards. But it's here now, so we're going to go with it. The object of the game, funnily enough, is to get the most points. You're going to get the most points by defeating creatures here. These are enchantments. They have a purple back on them. They're useful, but we'll get to them. You start with a hand of 5 cards. If you receive a lucky ladybird, then you will discard and you will pick up 2 cards. Wasn't that fun? Let's see if there's a lady. I've set up 2-player game here. These are your creatures. They also contain enchantments, and they also create event cards. If you pull an event card, it's applied immediately and then discarded and a new card comes out. So you always have 5, a mix of creatures and enchantments. So on your turn, you can do one of 2 things. You can reload, which is take a card. Your hand limit is 9. Or you can attempt to capture. Now, capture is where things get silly. In order to capture, you need to have a particular set. Now, you'll see the little icons at the bottom here. The sword, the boot, and the sort of smiley face. These refer to strike, stomp, and scream. And that is the number beside them is the total on the dice that you need to win. So in this case, to strike, you need 4 or more. To stomp, you need 3 or more. And to scream, you need 3 or more as well. So how do you get the cards? By playing sets. To strike, you need to play cards that are in a row, regardless of colour. Now, Player 2 doesn't have that option. Player 3 does. Player 3 has 3 cards in a row. They have 8, 9, 10. They don't have to be the same colour, but, for the purposes of this. So let's say they're going to strike. They would play those 3 cards. And because they're playing 3 cards, they get 3 dice. They would then roll that dice. They would name the creature that they're going after. Let's go after the fierce jaguar, because that gives us 3 points. So I'm going for a strike, so I need a total of 8 or more on these 3 dice. I rolled 5. That's unfortunate. But if I fail, I take the cards back in my hand, but I do have to discard one. So I'll discard this 6. The other thing you can do is you can stomp. And to stomp, you need to play cards that are of the same number. So in this case, let's try and stomp some crazy bats by playing a couple of 6s. So in this case, I will get 2 dice, and I need to get a 3 or more, which I've done. So player 2 would get the bat, and those cards are discarded permanently, and another card comes up. Play continues like that. The maximum hand size that you have is 9. Play continues until one of 2 things is done. And I'll just, because I always get the other one wrong. Either both dragons, because there are 2 dragons in the bottom half of this deck shuffled in, both dragons have been captured, game ends immediately, or this adventure deck has been run through twice. So it gets played, once it's empty, the discards are shuffled, once it goes again, game over. Then whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, what you can have are enchantments. These can help. Now, there's 2 kinds of enchantments. There are ones that you can only use once. In this case, like the lightning bolt. You can use only once to add 4 points to any capture attempt. A great one. And there's some that allow you to use it every turn. The only caveat is you're not allowed to use enchantments to capture other enchantments. So even if I managed to capture that lightning bolt, I could use it to capture a creature, but not another enchantment. What do I think of the game? I actually like this game a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's very silly. It's a very simple little game. It's a good family game as well. I've played it a lot at my friendly local gaming store because we enjoy playing it. It's very simple and easy to get into. And I hate to use the term, but when you have non-gamers, non-hobby gamers, yeah, this one's a good gateway game as well. So that is Dragonwood. This is Zombie Dice, and this is just a bit of fun on my part. Because a lot of people have heard about this game, but if you're someone who hasn't, this is quite a good game. Talking of gateway games, this one's a stunner. The object of the game is to be the first to get, well, at least 13 points. How do you get those points? Very simple. Firstly, give them a good shaky, and then you pull 3 dice. You always do it blind. You're never allowed to look in the pot, for reasons that will become apparent. And then you roll, and that's a bad roll for me. If you get any shotguns, any gun blasts, you put them to the side. If you get 3 of those in a single turn, you lose any points that you have accumulated. These are footsteps, kind of runaways, and essentially they allow you to re-roll. So I am going to re-roll just for the hell of it. But you always roll 3. So I have 1 to re-roll. So I will pick out another 2 blind, which I have done. So I now have 3 again. Right. If you get any brains, you also put them to the side. They give you points. Now, I did the 1 re-roll because I had no points. I can bank those. I can stop now. I can bank those 2 points. And I'll be fine. All the dice will go back in the tub and play passes to the next player. But I can also push my luck and go for more points. So let's do that. Again, I still have 1 reroll. It's the same blooming reroll. So again, I'm picking out 2 dice blind. Can't see the dice. I roll. And I've done rather well there. I've got another 2 points. So again, I can stop. That's 4 points. It's good. It's good. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to keep going. I have 1 reroll. So again, I need another 2 dice out. And that's a bummer. I have gotten my 3rd shotgun, which means I lose all those points and I'm back down to 0 again. Play continues until someone gets to at least 13 points. Once they've done that, they declare. Every other player then has 1 more go to see if they can equal to or beat the declared score. And whoever has the highest points is the winner. Obviously, you can tie. As games go, this is mind-numbingly simple. There's no skill involved. It's all about pushing your luck with the dice and hoping to God they roll well for you. And I love it. It's so much fun. It's one of the few games that I make a point of bringing out at Halloween, simply because, I mean, it's tenuous as hell with zombies. But it's so much fun. And if you're looking for something, because it's forget the artwork. That's the only artwork that really matters. The artwork is all sort of comically stupid like that. There's no like gore or nastiness in it. That's the only thing that matters. The dice. It's a great game. Lots of fun. And I think you guys would really enjoy it. If you don't already have it, go and seek it out. It's great fun.